Welcome! Today we are going to make a classic margherita pizza, known for its simple yet delicious combination of fresh ingredients. Whether you're an experienced cook or a beginner, this recipe will guide you step by step to make a delicious, authentic margherita pizza right in your own kitchen. Let's get started. To start with our margherita pizza, you'll need a few key ingredients. For the dough, we have 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, 1 1/2 cups of warm water, 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. For the sauce, grab a can of crushed tomatoes, about 14 ounces. You'll also need 2 cloves of minced garlic, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and 1 teaspoon each of dried oregano and basil. Season with salt and pepper to taste. For the toppings, have 8 ounces of fresh mozzarella cheese sliced and 2 to 3 ripe tomatoes sliced into rings. Fresh basil leaves and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil will finish it off. Optional, red pepper flakes if you like a bit of heat. Let's get cooking. To begin, we're making the pizza dough. First, activate the yeast. In a small bowl, combine 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar in 1 1/2 cups of warm water, which should be around 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 45 degrees Celsius. Let this mixture sit for 5 to 10 minutes until it becomes frothy. This ensures the yeast is alive and ready to help your dough rise. Meanwhile, in a large bowl, mix 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour with 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. Make a well in the center and pour in the yeast mixture along with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Stir until a dough begins to form. Once mixed, turn the dough out onto a floured surface and knead it for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's smooth and elastic. This process develops the gluten in the flour, which gives the dough its structure. Now that your dough is kneaded, it's time to let it rise. Place your dough in a lightly oiled bowl, turning it once to coat the surface with oil. Cover the bowl with a damp cloth or plastic wrap to prevent it from drying out. Let it rise in a warm, draft-free area for 1 to 2 hours. You're looking for the dough to double in size. This is crucial as the yeast ferments and produces carbon dioxide, causing the dough to expand and become airy. While your dough is rising, let's prepare the pizza sauce. In a medium saucepan, heat 1 tablespoon of olive oil over medium heat. Add 2 minced garlic cloves and cook for about 1 minute until the garlic is fragrant, but be careful not to let it brown. Next, add a 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Stir in 1 teaspoon each of dried oregano and dried basil. Allow the sauce to simmer for 15 to 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. Season with salt and pepper to taste. Once done, let the sauce cool before using it on the pizza. Now, let's prep our toppings. Start by slicing 2 to 3 ripe tomatoes into thin rings. Set these aside on a paper towel to absorb any excess moisture. This step is important to prevent a soggy pizza. Next, slice 8 ounces of fresh mozzarella cheese. If the cheese is wet, pat it dry with a paper towel to avoid making the pizza too watery. Fresh basil leaves will be used for garnishing, so have them ready. You might also want to prepare some extra virgin olive oil for drizzling and optional red pepper flakes if you prefer a spicy kick. With the dough now risen, it's time to shape it. Punch down the dough to release the air bubbles, then transfer it to a lightly floured surface. Divide the dough into 2 equal portions if making 2 pizzas. Roll out each portion into a 12-inch circle, or as thin or thick as you prefer. You can use a rolling pin or stretch it by hand. If you're using parchment paper, place the rolled dough on it for easy handling. If not, a well-floured pizza peel or baking sheet will work. Now, let's assemble the pizza. Spread a thin layer of your cooled tomato sauce over the dough, leaving a small border around the edges for the crust. Arrange the sliced mozzarella cheese evenly over the sauce. Place the tomato rings on top of the cheese. Drizzle a bit of extra virgin olive oil over the pizza to add flavor and help the toppings cook nicely. Optionally, sprinkle with red pepper flakes if you like a bit of spice. Preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit or 245 degrees Celsius. If you're using a pizza stone, place it in the oven to heat up. Once the oven is ready, transfer your assembled pizza, with a parchment paper if used, onto the preheated pizza stone or an inverted baking sheet. Bake for about 10 to 15 minutes, or until the crust is golden brown and the cheese is bubbling and slightly browned. Keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't burn. After baking, remove the pizza from the oven and immediately scatter fresh basil leaves over the top. The heat from the pizza will release the basil's aroma. Let the pizza cool for a few minutes before slicing. This helps the cheese set a bit, so it doesn't slide off when you cut it. Slice your pizza into wedges, serve, and enjoy your homemade margherita pizza. And lastly, here are a few tips to ensure your margherita pizza turns out perfect. First, for a crispier crust, preheat your pizza stone or baking sheet for at least 30 minutes before baking. This helps the dough start cooking immediately, creating a nice crunch. If you don't have a pizza stone, a baking sheet works fine, but it may not be as crisp. Next, make sure to drain excess moisture from the tomato slices before placing them on the pizza. This prevents the pizza from becoming soggy. When shaping your dough, if it sticks to the surface, use a bit of flour to prevent it from sticking. For an extra touch, sprinkle some red pepper flakes on top before baking if you like a bit of heat. Finally, add the fresh basil right after baking to keep it fragrant and vibrant. Enjoy your homemade margherita pizza.